Welcome back to Introduction to Programming using C++. One of the most fundamental concepts that I like to go over is the Char array data type. And the reason for this is everybody's used to creating strings using a string data type, and that's fine. We're going to go over that in later lectures. But I think it's important that you realize how to primitive data type and using character arrays, because in data structures, when you start learning about pointers in the future, this is going to help you a lot tremendously. So let's take a look at a bunch of fundamental concepts about the character array itself. Now, what can you store in a character array? Well, I'll give you a little bit of examples here. You can store dates such as this, names, name of the college, that's the college I teach at, and labels like the following. When you declare a character array, you're actually declaring a set of boxes in memory, which are going to take up 1 byte each. For example, if I have a declaration such as this, and I say char item description 21, and what I've done here is I've allocated 21 bytes for my variable called item description. Think of item description as your label in memory, saying, okay, I'm going to label this as item description, and the following 21 bytes are allocated to this particular label. And what I could store here are individual characters, such as the following on the top. Now you'll notice that there's a bunch of numbers here. Remember, the ASCII keyboard, ASCII number 1 is different from the integer 1. So if you type a value such as 1 and you declare it as a character, it's totally different than an integer 1. Remember that. I went over this on the last lecture, where you have a keyboard and a list of ASCII characters, and the ASCII character 1 actually has a decimal value mapped to it, and the decimal value is different than actually the number 1. It's a different representation. So the way that this string character array would be represented in memory is the following. And if I assign it the word blue pen, and this is wrong, it should be B-L-U-E, then you would have a list of 21 bytes allocated in memory. And then at the end, you notice this weird 2-character thing here. What that is a null terminator. The compiler has to know when your character string array ends. What happens is when you declare a character array, it has to put a null terminator at the end automatically. What that tells you is that every time that you declare a character or an array of characters, such as my example, you have to make room for the last byte. For example, if you're going to declare a character array of 5 bytes, always know that the 5th byte is going to have to be the null terminator, and you have no say in that, meaning that you really have the size of the array minus 1 space left over. So for example, I've declared this as 21 bytes, but I really only have 20 bytes allocated to me, because in the end the 21st byte will be the null terminator. The item description is my identifier name for a memory location. It is the address of the actual string. So as I mentioned before, what we're doing is labeling it out, and you're going to have a list of bytes with the label in memory. And what could we use this for? I already described, and strings, what we call strings, are used to called character-based data. So you'll have names, titles, dates, and descriptions. So let me give you an example right now, and I already wrote it out for you. What I'm doing here is declaring an item description of, I'm going to use 21 bytes, and I listed a hello world. So remember, now you have about 12 bytes that I'm using here, and just internally you're going to have a null terminator that's going to be allocated, that's going to be inserted into your last byte after this character. Now I'm just showing you as an example. This is not going to happen visually. You're not going to see this at all. You can do that. Always remember that the last byte of the bytes that you're taking up. So for example, this one, you're only taking up 12 bytes. So on the 13th byte, you're going to have the null terminator. Now, if you were using all 20 bytes, then on the 21st byte, you would have the null terminator. So it's always after the end of the last character of the string that you're declaring. Again, if I did hello, then I would have HELO, and somewhere internally in memory, you would have a null byte character after the fact, something along the lines of this. Okay, I do hello world, and I'm going to see out, and I compile that, so I say hello world. It's going to print it out. Now, notice how when I declare a string array of characters, I'm closing it with double quotes. So I'll have double quote here and then double quote here. That tells the compiler that this is a string of characters. When I do char letter A, that tells the compiler that I'm only using 1 byte, and I'm going to do 1 character, meaning that I can print this out as is. And if I comment this out and I say cout letter, print it out as the letter A. The other thing I want you to be conscious of is that you can't do this. So if I declare a character array of 5 bytes and I'm trying to fit more than 5 bytes into my character array, it's going to give me a compiler error. You have to be careful that when you allocate memory, that you have enough memory for whatever strings that you're trying to put into your character array. And that's it for character arrays. I hope you picked up a little bit of the fundamental concepts, and I hope you've learned something new. My suggestion would be to play with it, declare a couple of this item arrays, character arrays, and print them out just as so. And that should get you going. Thanks again. I will see you in the next lesson.